It's just, look at all these comments. Every single video, at least 10 people ask me to do a modern house. I really, don't want to do it, but at the same time, if they're asking for it, then I should probably, give them what they want. What should I do, NPC Grian? You should build a rustic house, Grian. You should always build a rustic house. I don't know, man. Why don't we, spice it up a little bit? What if I go and build the modern house that they want and show that I don't need to build the same style all the time? Not everything has to be a rustic house, and I can do pretty much any style that I want. No, Grian, that would be quite the opposite of a rustic house. There will be no modern builds from you. Come on, NPC Grid, we've been through this before. Put it away. We don't need any of that here. I don't think you understand, Grian. If you made a modern house, I might just go insane. You know what? No, not again. In your closet you go. No more until you've learnt your lesson. I'm going to build a modern house. Goodbye. Goddamn NPC Grian giving me all this. Modern house. Hello, my name is Grian, and I know that I've said for a long time that I won't be doing a modern build, but I figure I might as well just get it out the way and have it done with. I can do the style, I haven't done it in a very, very long time, but I'm gonna give it a shot anyway. So, a departure from my usual style of planning, I have actually made my block choices very early, and with a modern build, you're really going to be limited by what you've got in your inventory, unless you want to use a texture pack. And by this I mean cyan clay is a very good choice, a couple of the types of wood, the dark oak and the spruce, and of course quartz block or alternatively snow, because white is the primary choice when you're doing these kind of builds. So anyway, I have a nice block of cyan clay that I have risen up to a degree, but it will be risen up again later. Again, it's really difficult to give a tutorial on a modern house without going block for block, but I'm going to try and teach you some of the techniques necessary to get a good one out. So as you can see, I've got very geometrically square design going on, and I think that's very important for a modern build. I'll try and drive home some of the shape mechanisms that we need to do when we're making a modern house, but for the most part, just sort of watch and take in what I'm doing and I'll point out. For example, right now I'm doing this S shape, and you can see there's no curvature, it's all straight lines, squares, rectangles, and it's all meant to be aesthetically pleasing. It's quite difficult to explain, and when you make your own modern house, you really need to think about what you're going to do, visualize the shape, maybe even just go online, take a good gander at some of the other modern houses. That's what I did. I had a good look, a bit of research, took a lot into consideration when I was making this house, and sort of combined lots of ideas together to try and give you the best overall impression of a modern house. So, as you can see, I'm just filling in these little bits with quartz block, and I have a very rudimentary shape, and I decided to include a little bit more wood in relation to the quartz because it was quite quartz heavy. And you can see I've got three separate parts: the cyan clay, the quartz and the wood, and getting the proportions of these bits right are essential to a modern build house. For example, on the left there, I just made that a little bit too small, so I need to extend that out so it is completely in proportion with the rest of the build, and just adding those two extra blocks really helped get that across. So I hope that you're understanding where I'm coming from. The design process for making a modern house is very different to all the others. The shape is what's more important than getting the framework done, because a modern house doesn't really have a frame, as you can probably tell right now. So I'm just filling in some of the walls with quartz so you don't get confused with all the various shapes going on. And I'm going to be talking about the glasswork for a minute. Modern houses have an awful lot of just big glass faces, and that's no different when you're doing it in Minecraft as well. Choosing a stained glass is probably the best way to go. I like a grey or a dark one, but again, you could choose any one that you wanted. It just suits the quartz block a little bit nicer, and you can choose to put these windows in absolutely everywhere. And you can see I put that little slither at the top to have an extra layer of glass panes up there, and I think that's just a really nice technique to use when you're making a modern house. So on the cyan clay block bit that I made, I actually decided to use blue windows instead because it matches the colour accordingly. So as you can see, my colour choice has matched the block choice that it is integrated into. This is a big tip that you need to consider when you're making a modern house. And I didn't really mention it earlier, but I did use iron blocks for the garage door there in the bottom right hand corner. And as you can see, we've kind of got the main shape of the house, but there's something missing, and I don't mean the interior. There's a lot of problems with contrast here. There's a lot of white and the glass there. So what I'm actually going to do is add these vines that look like very nice plants overgrowing into the building itself. And what this does is just really releases some of the tension from all of those straight edges and just makes it look a lot more natural and integrated with a lot of good contrast. So on the back, instead of just replicating what I did on the front, I'm actually going to try and show you a couple different techniques. So one thing that we can do is just add some cobblestone wall there as a bit of guttering. Or alternatively, we can go back to our cyan clay, and instead of having it just in one big block, we can separate it into two little ones and have a nice sort of middle parting down the center of our building. And what that does is just take some of the pressure off having a complicated shape like I did at the front with the S. And I'm also going to be running around with some fern at the bottom. For some reason it's only 1 block tall in the replay mod, but whatever. That also is quite important, having that low level rise in the grass. And again, just adding some leaves there as some extra contrast to the building. You can tell that although I went through this very quickly, the systems behind it are very simple. You need lots of geometrically square shapes that complement each other, and depth is the most important thing here. Look how all the bits are placed at different variations of depth. It's very, very important that you understand that a modern build isn't really about the detail, it's about the overall effect and the shape of it all. So that's it from me. I haven't really gone into too much detail, and I will do in the future. I had to do a quick video today. I have been very, very busy with multiple projects, so I do apologise for the shortness of this video. I do plan on going into a bit more detail on the modern house style and sort of process in the future, but what I hope I have done maybe is sort of cleared up some of the anxieties about making a modern house and how you can sort of approach it in a very simplistic way, but at the same time, I hope that I've inspired you to come up with your own ideas again about making a modern house in this case. And hopefully you guys can make one, and again, you can feel free to tweet me and I'll help you out in any way I can. So that's it from me, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye!